We're back and we're discussing exclusively of how we've been through emotional abuse as part of one of the effects in mental health here. And as we were going to break, we heard about how Jasmine went through the situation of when she was experienced bullying and when she was younger then. And it's like I was about to tell Jasmine the story about the experience here of that my mom had told me when she experienced abuse. And I too had experienced abuse when I was younger with like part of one of my grandparents here. And it's like, all right, so allow me to say this because it's like when I remember like when I was younger and it's like and it was like my mom was just doing a lot just to like raise me. Mm-hmm. But the thing is that she was hanging around with this person who worked with her mm-hmm. at the same job at the School of Visual Arts in Manhattan, in New York. So then two got together, but then years later things started taking a downturn. Mm-hmm. The emotional were getting worse. It led to a point where my mom had to take me out of her house and let me live with my grandparents. Mm-hmm. So that way I don't have to be a part of this person who is really being abusive. Mm-hmm. And it was like, and then there was this moment where my mom mm-hmm. told me when she heard about the ex-boyfriend of hers mm-hmm. that started being with this other person mm-hmm. whom he was secretly hiding. And it was like, I remember hearing my mom telling me about where she went over to the apartment and like ring the doorbell and it's like after she was like, you can have him, and she just walked up, ran out, and then tried to run back. And it was like when she heard the doorbell ring or like a knock on the door, mm-hmm. it was the abuser. And that's when he was like really hard on my mom. And that's when the rape charge started coming in. It's like, I am trying to take my time, but it's like, when he raped my mother, mm-hmm. I got so emotional because it's like, I don't know who is this person mm-hmm. messing around with my mom. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, and I'm sitting there like,
you want to protect her basically.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know what you mean.
And it's like, but there was nothing I could do because mm-hmm. I was like about 10 years old or younger than here when that happened.
Do you feel like that whole thing happening to your mom like affected you in any ways?
Like in ways where, because it's like my mom has gone through a lot of relationships mm-hmm. here, even with my original father, who is really just not a good person to mm-hmm. be around, because he was worse as well, and mm-hmm. to be honest here. And it's like, to this day, whenever I still think about it, mm-hmm. the childhood haunting memories are still coming back to me, because I do recall my father was really abusive to me as well. Mm-hmm. And even the abuse and the bullying continued on when I was in school, from elementary school to part of middle school, mm-hmm. or like up to like 8th grade or so. Mm-hmm. And it was like, it was hard to deal with it. Mm-hmm. And it was like I had rarely no friends, but it's like the friends that I had, it was like I don't talk to anymore, but it was also like the friends that were used to be my friends back in the old school days. It was like they were not only protecting me, but it was like they would also beat them up as well, beat up the bully here. Oh, but it was like, at the same time, it was like, was it a good thing to do, or was it a bad thing to do? Because mm-hmm. it was like,
like beating up the bully or whatever, like bullying the bully.
And it was like it almost led to the point where the ones that were beating up the bully were getting in trouble because of that here, and I was trying, and it's like it was another way of saying I had almost no one to talk to, because even if I talked to that person, they wouldn't believe me or my stories, because some people are just really different here, and it's like.
So when bullying was going on, like, who were people that you basically were like opening up to in like your life, basically? Like, did you like have any like school counselors that you were talking to, or like friends?
Well, there was only one school counselor I remember talking to, and but that was basically it. And it was like there wasn't that much school counselors going on in like all the schools or so. But I do remember, because it's like I more got school counseling later on in like around late elementary school into middle school and high school, and that was it. Yes, but it was like something I couldn't experience it, and I still remember to this day when I was in first grade here. There's this two boys that took away my watch. They wanted to, and I never got it back.
Did you ever tell anybody? Like,
I did tell.
Okay.
I did tell. I let my first grade teacher know, and we had to go out and find the investigation, but I never got my watch back. So, but it was something that I just couldn't deal with anymore. And it's like, and now today, I mean, even I don't really experience bullying at all that much, but in barely circumstances, it's like it's now happening on social media with cyberbullying, basically. And
go ahead.
No.
And yeah, I was gonna say that kind of brings on like a whole new kind of level of bullying. Even in high school, for me, it wasn't even like you were saying, like bullying for me. After it was like verbal bullying, it was more of like the virtual bullying in high school. That was more like the thing for me, which was what caused the social anxiety a little bit more. Because it's like online, it's hard to get away from things. Like you can delete things and stuff like that. But like if someone screenshots something, it's gonna be there forever, or screen record or whatever they do, you know what I mean? So I feel like now that that's like a whole new element, I feel like it's hard for like a lot of like youth to get away from like their mistakes, you know what I mean?
Right. And I also wanted to mention that it was not only my father that I've experienced abuse from, but it was also my grandfather, because the thing is, usually almost every night when he was alive, and God rest his soul, I mean, he had had a drink every night, and it was like, if he had a problem, that's when he started raising his voice, and that's when arguments occurred, and it's like, I remember the time my grandparents had like the biggest argument in bed, and it was like my grandmother just shouted at my grandfather, telling him to get out of my face, and because it was like, and it almost led to a point where a fight was about to occur between the two of them, like, you know, like a brawl basically, or like punches were about to be thrown, and it was like, and
you were there for that, like
I was there when that happened, because when that happened, it was like it was a few years ago it occurred, but it was like before, I think 2013 or something, but it was just something that I had known for forever, even as I grew up, and I noticing how he was, even though he appreciated me, but it was like at the same time, he was really abusive.
Yeah, he had his own struggles, basically.
Exactly. And it's like, and the thing is, it's like, I want to just say that it is really important to talk to someone close to you, and to tell them what is going on with what they're going through and with what they have experienced here, because we're all dealing with this. Even today's generation is dealing with the emotional health and experience abuse here through the present, because And today, together as young adults, youth, and millennials, we all have to be stronger than ever and not let anyone get in the way with what we're doing to going forward here. So I just want to make sure everyone understands that if you're experiencing that, like any abuse, emotional abuse, or any bullying or anything, talk to someone close to you, whether if it's a close relative or anyone that you trust, because at the end of the day, that person who is really trustworthy has your back, and that's the main thing.